Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Fractional CEO podcast. Today, we have prepared and we'll be speaking about why a business would be unsellable. So, Brad, what did you say about the today's topic we've picked?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought it up. Actually, I've seen a lot of it in my career. Um, but people, when they get started in their business and they built it to something really special, the component that's missing, I find first and foremost, is that the owner of the business is too pivotal to the success of the business. So if you're selling it, that owner's going away, and they don't have themselves replace or systems in place for them to exit. So when a prospective buyer was coming along to look at it, and they're getting frustrated, they're just saying, people come, they're wasting my time, they're kicking the tires, and I'm going, they're seeing that this is not a turnkey. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be buying your efforts and what you built, but you built it around you. That's where I find the biggest issue, or at least one that's repetitive that I've seen.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. Kind of, we can even put it in the frame of umbrella case and the reason why people are not engaging, meaning not interested in buying somebody's business. As you said, the problem is a lack of system, overall organization, everything else, plus over reliance on the owner of the company, also the founder. Uh, yeah, that is something what I also stumble upon in these years. And generally, I do understand how a founder, somebody who is started the business and running the business for the 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, the individual as the owner is very emotional about and around the success, the perspective, longevity, and legacy over the company. But fundamentally, exit is very dependent on your core values and what you actually want to achieve. Because, as you said, it's very important in the end. If you're already building and nurturing the business and you plan to sell it, then you need to groom an individual and or a team that will be actually fully helpful and supportive when you move away from that specific management role. Problem is, most companies are not most significant amount of companies are getting to the stage of thinking about selling because they are in some way done. They are depleted in terms of the idea. They don't necessarily see the perspective and similar, no matter how long they are in a game. And some people simply are feeling tired because they're in the industry in one specific niche for the past 30 years. And we know for a fact when you start something and you're passionate about, let's say, programming, you'll be passionate up until the moment when you start to receive a negative feedback, not necessarily from the satisfactory corner and clients or employer not being happy with you, but simply the task and burden that goes with natural state of being in business. So my point is, the business owners who are planning to make any kind of exit in that term, selling the business, establishing and selling the business, should be taking it very carefully and seriously from day one, no matter they're a one-man band, three-man band, or five-man band, because whatever happens, the buyer side, the individual or a business that is planning the acquisition, they'll be dissecting not only the P&L statement, but every aspect of the business, because they're buying a system, not necessarily and definitely not an individual handling and managing stuff over there. So,
No, you hit on a few things. I want to go back and touch on them.
mm,
So we're just going to assume right away.
mm,
Um, without going into, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going to go into the nuances of the financials. So we'll trust that that person who's thinking of selling their business is already making good choices on cost reductions and making their statements look as beautiful as possible to attract. So that's like a cover letter to a resume. So we'll just assume. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because that's not my wheelhouse as a coach. But my wheelhouse is the structure of the company and the people capital. So I have firsthand experience with a marketing company that I literally went in and was working in the company to help. And here's what happened. I was coaching the owner. The owner is probably damn near 20, 25 years older than I am. So, I went in with a few assumptions, which was wrong on my part. I should know better as a coach, don't assume. But anyways, I was on the assumption that he's been in business for so many years that he should have many of these things locked in. Where he was deficient, and I quickly found out, was when he said to me, I'm trying to sell. I want to sell this business. Not he was trying because he wasn't there yet, but that was the goal of bringing me on. As he goes, but I can't seem to keep sales reps long enough. And I'm like, that's my first red flag when I hear that. So I'm like, okay, tell me more about that. To make the long story short, is I found out that he sucked at interviewing. He's never really learned that skill and was doing it improperly. He was interviewing himself, basically, and was bringing in people who he thought were fantastic. But when you're doing all the talking, of course you're satisfied because they're saying, yep, that's all they've done. So anyways, so in rebuilding his sales team, I took over the interviewing with him sitting in so he could learn. And then, of course, he eventually took that over. So people capital. So the scary thing for somebody buying a business, from a certain perspective is that they go, okay, the what ifs enter people's minds. Okay. What if that sales manager quits? What if blah, blah, blah. So you as the seller already have a people plan that they would just inherit. So they understand how your succession is working. They understand the attrition of the business. Like you'll generally have people for 9 months, or you'll have whatever. It just, you need to make that person feel as comfortable as possible with how the inner workings of your company, so they can envision themselves in your role. And when they can't, and this again, this is not talking financials, if they can't, they generally walk.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also one thing, what I found for sure on the go with in collaboration with various companies overall and through all these years, even a very stable company, they are simply receiving a significant amount of both inbound leads, good opportunities, good projects, and everything. But in terms of longevity and perspective, the trend, and it's a matter of when, not if, they'll be becoming stagnant because they are not adapting as the time progresses to the market demand, nor their services are generally a good fit. Practically, you can see that very often in tech companies. They're building something monumental and they fully enjoy in building it. But for whom you're actually building this? Is it truly bringing a significant value to the audience, to the market, in the end, to your client who will be paying that subscription or paying the implementation of some robust infrastructure you are delivering as a service? So these components in terms of expertise, service, multi-layer approach, complexity, is significant thing in the process. As I said, in parallel with internal resources and intellectual capital you gathered through all these years. Because, as I said, you can polish everything before buyer enters the house, but any serious buyer will be checking every nitty-gritty detail of the way, interviewing people from management, middle management, if we're having some larger organization terms, and also people who are doing some service delivery in terms of specialization. And yeah, it is full scale due diligence before even entering serious convo about actually buying that business.
You're right. And the other thing is the emotion part of it is, when I'm going into a business, I always remind myself that this is their home. Like
Yeah,
this is personal. Like to
yeah,
me, it's a business, and that's what gives me a unique perspective, or anybody for that matter, going into that situation. So I would say to anybody who's contemplating the uh, choice of, okay, I'm moving. I mean, we're right now seeing the biggest transfer of wealth in human history, with the baby boomers and whatnot. This has already been happening for a decade of wealth being transferred. But along with that wealth is companies that children didn't want.
yeah.
Okay, and I'm one of them. My father was a sign writer and had a very successful business, and myself and my brother, we just did not have the skill, the artistic skill that my old man had. So he had to eventually let it go. Anyway, point being is, this is where we're finding a lot of business owners in. The family doesn't want it. That's part of their retirement, and they got to unload this thing. But it's personal. So when you are working with a professional, and you should, so you're working perhaps with a business broker or whatever, to set yourself up for the sale. So I'm going to go back to another one that there's. I worked with a lot of industrial businesses, and I was explaining to this owner that if you're going to franchise the business, so that's still selling. So this is why I'm bringing it up. If you're going to sell it, I said you have to have it A, B, C. So you do need an operation standards manual, because
Yeah.
you need to help them understand how the business works, give them the step by step on how to be successful, because when they're successful, it feeds the franchisor, and you don't want to damage your brand. So it's the same principle. So in the franchise world, if you went to go buy a pizza shop that's a franchise, for this is an example, they don't just go, well, here's the keys, buy. Oh, well, there's a recipe card, you can figure out how to make dough. Of course not. Generally, like in my past, I was an executive for a franchisor, and I know damn well there's the onboarding, there's the school, if you will, because like some of them call them college, and it really is, because that's a lot of information. But they
Yeah.
they talk about all facets of the business to make sure that you know what you're doing. So if you're selling a business, think about it like a franchise, if it's not already, that is. Think of it like a franchise and just say it has to be turnkey. So what's missing? Well, the odds of you proofreading your own letter to find your spelling mistakes, we all know how that goes. So you get somebody else to read it. So it's the same thing with your business. Is you get a business broker, you get a consultant, um, somebody objective that has nothing to do with your business. So when they come in, they tell you the straight goods. Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm seeing, and that's what you and I have done. The example I already gave you is just identifying a huge gap in a person's tools in their toolbox, you could say, and helping that through. So he could, and he did. He finally did sell the business, but he couldn't sell it without a sales team. So
Yeah.
good luck. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great point, especially some of the companies simply definitely have a system in place, but system in terms of operation is one thing. Documentation and overall knowledge base is supportive entity. So what you can do with highly complex system if you don't know how to operate with it. So yeah, it's one big pile of beautiful things, but that actually need to communicate in both direction. And as you said, for the audience, future buyer needs to be clear in terms of understanding they are truly receiving a full scale, meaning turnkey solution. Also, one thing that makes business unbuyable or unsellable is the crazy expectations from the evaluation standpoint. And what happens on the market, I heard that so many times, yeah, they were evaluating our company this way, that way, they're cheapskating. No, you need to be a little bit more objective than you truly are, because the evaluation of your company is in specific realm simply due to the fact that you are lacking behind with some terms and things within the organization that simply puts you and your company not necessarily in the sweet spot. And the reason why somebody is giving you less money than it would give to an equivalent with having some additional components into it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And like I said, I don't want to, me in reiteration, but I can't make this point enough. Is that you are in the ultimate sales role of presenting an opportunity that the buyer, can see themselves in.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and to do that, you just need to, rest on a few things. Even for like the term, Philip. I mean, how long does the seller stay in the business? Like doing the transition. Like, is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? They can be a year. So, or the person stays on as a consultant to the new owner. Like but like I said, I don't want to get into a lot of the minutia of how an agreement would be structured. The point is that you want to make this company irresistible to most, not some. That most are going, like, this looks like a fabulous opportunity. When they're speaking with you, you're talking about the future. You're talking about how you have certain systems in place for how the sales work. How do you keep the costs? With your suppliers, you have a good relationship, and I introduce you to them. I could go on and on, but it's not as easy as just putting out a sign and just saying, "Hey, I got a business for sale," and the statements look pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I had several cases in the marketing agencies realm. Those agencies weren't big in terms of headcount and overall turnover, but they were pretty much irresistible simply due to the system being in place, the level of profitability, and everything was operating adequately. So finding a proper buyer was a no-brainer. People were just piling with full interest into buying that specific business. Like you said, if you truly have a significant value in your hands, it's obvious for many. So it shouldn't be a problem actually selling what you are selling. Also, one thing what I wanted to emphasize and mention today in terms of why businesses are unsellable is the fact that in some of companies, one of the red flags happening is quite big resource turnover in terms of people coming in, going out, and everything is happening in a very short time span. What is your take and your experience upon that?
Well, like I said, it's you have to ask the question why. Okay, if the answer is, oh, they can earn more money somewhere else, that's not personal, and I know that you just accepted that because it doesn't indict what you do as a leader or their lack of. So get the emotion out of it. You need a forensic audit of what's going on. Face reality of what's happening. So if you're having a lot of turnover, it's definitely a you problem. You have to, like, whether it's you personally or the people that report to you and you're ignoring how terrible they are at their job. Something. There's just a breakdown, period. It just is. How many people listening to this or around the world enjoy going for our job interviews? Not many, if at all. Nobody, I don't think, enjoys them. I know I certainly didn't, because I found them stressful, and you're thinking, I got to do a good impression and all these other kinds of things. So when a person's leaving and willing to take on an interview to just get the hell out of there, that's terrible. When I was managing a team, this is years ago, but when I was managing a team in a big box retail store, I was the GM. And I said to my management team, I said, our goal is to make our employees feel that they would almost rather be here than at home. Like that's the goal.
Mm.
Like you want to get there. And so how do you do that? Is you have a great positive atmosphere, supportive, fun. Um, uh, Everybody knows what the goal is. They know what success looks like, and that success is celebrated. All these kind of things. It's getting a business to that. And I would always enjoy, once I learned how to do this, by the way, but I would always enjoy after that fantastic sales results. So it has like consistency with having people stay with you for a long period of time. Customers notice.
Yeah.
And like I said, you fall back into that. They left for more money. All of them. It's you. You've got a problem. You've got a problem. So
absolutely, and a great point, because one significant trigger for me, and it's a basic one, when I am visiting, for example, some restaurant, and if I see for years the same team, for me, that is absolutely a green flag. It's obvious people are being satisfied, everything is running properly or smoothly. That's it. That is a place to stay. And that is also the reason for you as a client to go back. Also, one thing I wanted to add to our today's list, in terms of reasons for a business not to be sellable, is and are the weak contracts and collaboration with the clientele and clients overall. Similar, like the resource retention in terms of people working in the company, the problem is also relying on some shorter term contracts, weak contracts overall, without any kind of predictability in terms of future and perspective and what will be happening if you buy the business and you have zero control. Surely and always there is a higher force impacting the situation, and sometimes some things you simply cannot predict. But in terms of client retention, longevity, type of contracts in terms of strength and clarity, that is a significant thing impacting on the business, giving you a good signal.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, like I said, you have to make your business that attractive. So if you don't currently have that, then it behooves you to find the professionals that can help you get there. So maybe you do a sales consultant, comes in and does a forensic audit of your sales process and your contracts, and what can be done to change this. Again, when you're going to sell a business, this is not you decided Monday and it's on Friday. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's about finding where the weaknesses are, cleaning that up, and then getting the best price possible for your retirement, because that's what you're really talking about. In most cases that you and I have dealt with, is people aren't leaving because they're bored. The people I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm saying the people I've worked with is they're done. They're at that age where they're just like, look, I've got fewer days ahead, so I'm gonna make the most of them. I'd like to get my retirement money out of this company and enjoy the rest of my life, type of thing. So that's my final word on that. Is the sooner you get an outsider's professional, objective point of how your company is operating, and then start one by one, correcting and modifying better the processes or everything that we've mentioned, gets you ready. Like if you're selling a car, are you going to sell it dirty or are you going to sell it clean? Are you going to vacuum inside or not? Are you going to get rid of that dog smell or aren't you? Like, think of it that way. It's just you want to put your best foot forward. And I don't know about you, but like selling a company and all the time and effort you put into that, don't you want it to be successful? Do you really want it to go bankrupt in 2 years and have your life's work just fade away and die? I wouldn't, because that would bother me. Because of pride, you'd like to see something you built keep going. So let's that's my final word on that, Philip. Is just get an appraisal of what's going on in your business from somebody objective, from a company that's objective, and because nobody does everything perfectly. That's why you get others to help you with certain facets of your business.
Absolutely agree. I think that we've covered pretty well today's topic. So
we got a
few. Absolutely. And for our audience, people can find us on our official website, fractional.ceo. Quite few things visible and accessible on YouTube, and for sure on LinkedIn. Brad, as always, it was a true pleasure, and looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, and see you.